Okay, we have a very long agenda tonight, so we're gonna chop through it. It's 6:31. We'll call the meeting to order. First up, modifications and changes. Is there anything that we need to alter tonight? Okay, moving on, public comment. Everybody here is on an agenda item, correct? Okay. Up next, review and approval for minutes of February 14th. If Sandy said they look good, then they must be good. I'll hear a motion to accept them.
Second.
Eli with the first, Sandy with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. All right, up next, Enosburg Recreation Department. We got Margot with the park application for spring color run.
Hi, guys.
Hey,
How are you?
We're good.
Good.
How are
So good, thank you. So we're looking to do a spring color run on April 15th. I don't think I put on the application, a potential rain date could be May 13th if we needed to move it. It's starting at Lincoln Park. The run's gonna be around the village. The map, we kind of mapped out like a 1.5 mile run. Again, starting at the park, going down Main Street to Dickinson Ave, over to Pleasant Street, back up to Main, and then finishing back at Lincoln Park. So just doing that loop around. It would include a few color stations. So there'd be colored powder stations where runners or walkers get sprayed with color powder. So that would be the start, like at the start and finish, they would do that. And then we would also like to do possibly one like around the elementary school parking lot. And then maybe again at like where Bates and the rail trail, that area right there. So there'd be volunteers there spraying runners as they go by. That was kind of the quick rundown.
do you think you're gonna need any traffic control?
So there will be a few streets they have to cross. So I'm looking into potentially asking if like the Lions Club would like to help, like do it being crossing guards, or Hannaford also usually provides us with a lot of volunteers. So like the crossing at like Pleasant Street and Depot Street, Main Street and Depot, they're going to be crossing there. So we will probably need a crossing guard there. Unless you feel like we should just close that street for an hour. I guess it's whatever you think would be best.
Crossing guards could probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
The day of the week is the 15th, or is it a Saturday? Or I can look it up. What day of
It's
the
a
week is it?
Saturday. Saturday, yeah, Saturday morning.
Main Street's pretty
But it's
busy
not
on
like-
Saturday morning.
Yeah, and it's
I
always
mean, in terms of closing it.
crossing adjacent with flowing traffic, so.
And we do have lights at the
Okay.
Depot Street
Yeah.
and Main Street crossing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that sounds fun.
Okay.
Anybody else have
Cool.
questions? Motion to approve?
Second.
Eli with the first, Heather with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, names. Yeah, we'll waive the fee and,
Yeah.
insurance.
We have insurance. So
Yeah.
we're bound anyway, so we're good.
Okay. Thank you, Margot.
Thank you. I also did put an application for movie nights. I don't know if you guys have that one tonight.
I don't have that one on tonight. We'll do that in March.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I just wanted to do it as long as we can get it done before go on my maternity leave. So that's fine.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, Enosburg Falls High School park application to host 8th grade graduation park.
8th grade and 12th grade.
8th
Yes.
grade and 12th grade?
Mhm.
The same thing as last year.
6/16 and 6/17, statewide.
Okay. I'm assuming this is gonna be similar to the last few years. Middle school will be before,
The Friday night and then the high school Saturday.
and they'll leave is there gonna be tent this year?
I typically have a And
Then I think last year.
It says that they plan to place temporary structures secured to the ground.
Yes.
Yeah.
Either way, in the past few years, I think they've done a great job in having it out in the park is.
Yeah,
is
that's
good.
they get it cleaned up, like,
Yeah.
they're doing a good job.
Um.
And the SRO is gonna be there.
All right, so I don't have an issue with either of these. If we all feel the same, I will hear a motion to accept, waive the fee again.
Well, we expect waive the fee.
I heard Sandy with the first, Eli with the second. All those in favor say aye.
And that's for both the bandstand and for.
Yes.
Yeah. They need to
In
know,
both
so.
middle and high. Okay, that was unanimous. Okay, up next, we have Mr. Derek.
The right.
Okay.
It's much easier than it was.
With a park application to host a food truck in the park during the week. Good evening.
Yes, hello. I'm not sure of the format, so I would really appreciate some guidance on this. Do I have?
Go
to
over your,
present the
they have
idea?
they have your application. I emailed you guys today, Derek had sent me kind of a little write-up, I didn't get it to John in time for the packet, I don't know,
Missed it.
so I didn't have a copy.
I can
Like,
briefly
maybe-
mention it. That's what you
Yeah.
want, because I just don't know what information you want, you know?
Yeah.
So what are you planning?
Like this food truck is actually a food trailer. I'm hoping to get permission from here, village, to, she corrected me, that's why it's laughing.
He asked me if this was the town meeting.
It's gonna be permission to park the truck on Wednesday afternoon at 2 p.m. And then set up and prep is 2 to 4 p.m. and then open for dinner at 4 p.m., close it off at 8 or 8:30 at night. And then the special request comes in asking to park the trailer there overnight. Do the same thing on Thursday and Friday and Saturday. And then after I close Saturday, I remove the trailer, make sure everything is good to go. And pretty much it.
Okay, where do you plan on parking? On the street or in the park?
On this street, yeah.
On the street.
I kind of, I talked to quite a few people and I lived around there for quite some time, so Stebbins Street might be the more ideal street. It has the least traffic flow. Provided, because I'm gonna need power as well. That's about it.
You're gonna need power, from the bandstand, 'cause I think, well, we have power in the park.
They
too.
mentioned there's power available, so I would be, the spot would be limited to where the power is.
There's power at that pole that's behind, I would consider it behind the bandstand that is on Stebbins Street, that goes to the park.
You wanna get into this now, or when we talk about the ordinances? We did go over with, Ken and Dave and some logistics of some things in the park. So a couple, as far as power is concerned and like lawn mowing and all that type of stuff, so.
Mhm. But there's no meter on the bandstand, right?
There isn't, so that's, I mean, one thing we talked about, do we put a metered use, a multiple use meter somewhere in the park? I think too, we looked into, because the whole park is basically surrounded by the sidewalk.
Right.
So we can't run temporary lines across the sidewalk,
Right.
only for emergency purposes.
Okay.
But these are just codes we have to follow. And then we can't go up, because we thought maybe we can go up and over and back down somehow, but that's also a violation, you can't do that either.
So parking on the street is not going to be an option then?
You won't be able to.
Power. You know, wouldn't be an option, I mean, maybe temporarily, but not left there, can't be left.
Yeah, see, I'd rather have the power, because if you don't have the power, the noise factor comes into play.
Right.
It's one of like the number one complaints. And I'm in the neighborhood, because I literally live 50 feet from there. So I don't want that to become an issue. I don't want my idea to cause any problems.
Yeah.
I'm not in favor of that. But otherwise, everything else I've thought about it.
The other thing that we might need to take into consideration here is if you plan on moving around, you would need a peddler's permit. So that would be a separate application.
Moving around, mean like on and off?
Yeah, so you're planning on parking there from Wednesday to Saturday, and then it'll be gone, and then you're coming back another Wednesday through Saturday, you know,
Right.
it's just kind
Right.
So under the peddler's permit, I did actually
Oh, I
find,
see what you're saying now.
I did actually find that we do have a form, that we do have for the peddler's permit. That's where having the proof of insurance and then the state health
Yep, I got
stuff
that.
comes into play for that.
of, yeah, this, I think we're gonna need to talk this one over.
Yeah, this one's a little more complicated than it.
I definitely read the bylaws and I know I'm throwing a little wrench in there.
Oh,
But I
it's
think
just something
it's,
brand new.
Yeah.
Right, but I put a lot of thoughts, because I don't wanna do lunch, because I don't want that kind of prominence in the park. I kind of chose 7th Street because it's more, if you stand in the park, you know, everywhere you see it's open, except behind the stage, you know,
Mhm.
it's, this is also closer to the house. And, but that's why it's a trailer, so if it has to be removed every night, I don't have a problem with that, you know, but I just don't wanna take chance moving it. It wasn't recommended, that's what they said, you know, usually you go somewhere, you set up,
Yeah,
finish, then you close shop.
it'd be a long
Yeah,
night.
right, and then you drive it off. That's pretty much the reason.
Do you plan on having any seating, any picnic tables, anything like that?
No, in fact, I'm pretty much decided on the packaging. Cause I'm gonna go with something like Chinese food containers. Because I really don't wanna do it in a platter way, because I might encourage. I don't want people sitting in the park to eat. I want them to enjoy it, but this food is gonna be really fine cuisine. Even though it's coming out of a food truck, it's not cheap at all. You know, but this should be eaten at home on a plate, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's one of those things, even though it's coming out of food truck, so. But I decided to go with Chinese food packaging, a different thing, because it's very difficult to eat.
You're encouraging them to put it on the plate
Right,
by
I want
putting
that,
it in a
right.
difficult container.
Yeah, you know, I'm not gonna be serving no napkins, no,
So it's a
Silverware.
strictly a food to go.
correct, yeah, and then I've also reduced the menu. Extremely streamlined to the point where it should take somebody 10, not even 10 seconds to place the order. I did that just so that the flow, because you don't want to stagnate the park.
Mhm.
And that's gonna be a problem, and then if that happens, then I'm gonna have to come answer to you guys, so. Well, just create a problem for myself as well, so.
That was the other request, was just trash. So if you have trash that you're producing, that it'll pack in, pack out type of thing. And then obviously if, like you're saying, if you have a to-go container and someone stops and eats it and throws it, that's fine, but.
Yeah,
But-
well, if you, I mean, my box is gonna be very unique, not unique, but I'm using different colors for it.
Mhm.
So if we see that, you know, and then I'll find a solution for it one way or the other, and if it's not, then I'll be happy to pay a certain amount towards handling basically trash that I'm creating one way or the other. And I'll be happy to pay for that. But I don't think it will become a problem because price is not cheap, so they will most likely sit at home and enjoy it. And I'm not serving
about-
drinks either.
What about Dairy Day weekend?
Yeah,
They can't, per the ordinance, no, there can't be any other.
Right, the Lions have the park.
Could he apply to the Lions Club?
well, I had another idea on that question. I kind of anticipated that question. I rather not have the container and compete with Lions, because the last one time I just kind of hang out with the Lions guys and help them in the trailer, you know? So Dairy Day, I will be closed. I have absolutely no intention of being open. I kind of want to join the Dairy Day. You know, that's the whole idea of park, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
And so then the other date that would come into play there
Perfect.
is the Harvest Festival, which is the third Saturday in September.
Yeah, any day that's already on the calendar or anything that's considered special,
Mhm.
I'll be happy to step down. I have no, you know, especially if there's a farmer's market or something and,
Well, we have food vendors. You can always apply and become a food vendor for the Harvest Festival and be there anyway.
right, no, I know, but I don't think I just, you know, I don't even mind, like, I would rather have it off. Unless you guys insist on it, then I'll be happy to do it. But on my side, if it's gonna be something that I can enjoy, I'll just take it off.
You would enjoy.
Yeah, I'll just enjoy that part, you know. I'll be part of that side there.
Okay, another question. So Wednesday through Saturday, do you have any idea of like Memorial through Labor Day or July 1st?
Oh, yeah. Well, this is important. My wife's away. So, and I'm, if I were to say, just, if I were to go at a guess here, I would like to open close to May. Sometime, you know, obviously things will take time, you know, and then up until like close to Thanksgiving. Or go as cold as possibly get. And after the, you know, before Thanksgiving, I like to close up.
Okay,
And if there's any, if there's gonna be a weather issue, whereas, you know, plowing is gonna be an issue for the town, you know? And if you guys want the trailer removed, doesn't matter what day it is, I'll be happy to remove it. Because it's just, it'll be a pain in the butt if it sits there, you know?
right. Just thinking out loud, I think our main problem is power. Because if you didn't have a need for landline power, then you could kind of park wherever. And if you got a peddler's permit, then you could go, it wouldn't necessarily need to be always on the park, but it, you know, it could be wherever around the village. Without any cords or anything, it kind of eliminates a lot of our problem, I think. And then by having the ability to go anywhere around the village also. Because it's kind of a big ask to have the park from May to November, Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you know what I mean, so.
Yeah, I knew that was, yeah, especially parking
Yeah.
there, you know, yeah.
And then we don't have a meter on any of it, so another thing, we'd have to kind of keep track of usage that way, because the village is currently paying for all the power in the park. So if it goes to like an event or, you know, any community thing in the park, that's fine, we don't have an issue, but if it's going towards a business, then at that point, we would need to meter it and sell it.
Yeah, cause I was under the impression they would plug in and there's the meter, that'll be right, and then pay it, you know,
Yeah.
that's what,
We just don't have a separate meter on that. It powers like some street lights and other things, so it's not just.
We don't have a specific like park use meter. for-
oh, I see, okay, I got you, okay.
But you brought up the idea that we're now considering thinking through this, but I don't know what that timeline is, but what would that look like? And
Yeah, well, I mean, if I, you know, if I can find a very good generator, then I'll do it, you know?
Mhm.
But I already made up my mind, but it's gonna create noise, I don't want it,
Some of those
it's that simple.
Very loud.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't want somebody else to tell me how loud it is, when I should know it's loud, you know?
but they do make them today that are
Yeah.
not like the gasoline powered generators that we typically think about. I'm sure they're more expensive, but they do make.
Yeah, I got a lot of money.
Welcome to the club.
That was a joke. Yeah.
We're all here for the money.
I'll definitely look into that one.
Okay, so can we think about this? Can we discuss it
Yeah,
at the
you
board?
definitely have to think about this.
Yeah,
because I
there's a
put
lot to
of
take
thought
in
into
here.
this, Yeah.
I certainly like the idea of a food truck, and I think.
Yeah, I mean, and this is something we've never encountered before.
And
I think it's
especially
very
for.
You guys didn't ask me what I was gonna be serving though.
I said.
You said rice and curry dishes.
Yeah, it's gonna be very authentic Sri Lankan curry dishes.
Oh,
And it's gonna be rice, basmati rice with a beef curry and maybe one or two veggies, yogurt with red onion and 2 slices of lime. And the second option, my menu is just, this is why I said, if somebody comes in, they're gonna be very quick in order, because I'm only giving A, B, C, D, E, F, you know. That's it. And the description is always the same, beef, and the second B is gonna be a vegetarian instead of beef or chicken, depending on the day. We'll get 3 veggies in the same. And then C is just going to be 3 beef rolls. And D is something, I really, it was one of my favorite food, but I wanna wait. Come up with.
the teasing food. Oh.
No, I need to make flatbreads and that's coming down the road. So after that, and that's pretty much it. So if somebody orders, it's gonna be A, B, C, D.
And you said you
There's
live
no
50
description.
yards from the park. Where do you live?
On 118 Missisquoi Street. I sit at home and listen to the music in the park.
Well,
Yeah.
that's good. We're glad you listened to it.
Yeah, I listen to it. I go on and off, so. But anyway, that's one of the reasons I put a lot of thought into it. So if you have any questions, I'm open game.
One last question. I know you like the idea of the park and that's good. Would it have to be at the park? Or any other place in the village would work?
That's, okay, the main idea I wanted to pursue was, I grew up in Belize and I went to Mexico and even other parts in the US, you know, we always have green space, but nobody hangs out in the park. Nobody does. You know, I really think people just, I'm not talking about creating an event and everybody get organized and all that stuff. No, just organically it should come like after 5 o'clock. There's so many businesses around, you know, they just come in, you know, just kind of grow, come in like a wave, you know, just grow, people hang out, dogs come out, sit, and then like 9 o'clock should just die off organically. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
That's how a park should be utilized, in my opinion. Because that really brings, because there's a lot of senior citizens that live in the Falls apartment. A lot of seniors, they don't get to go anywhere. I know them because I used to live there. That's how I know them about this issue, you know? But I just think they bring out people. But I'm not talking, you know, have a rave at the park. You know what I mean? Just comes and goes, you know?
Just brings me back, I lived in Burlington for a long time, and a lot of the parks had like some food trucks that didn't go anywhere, and it's just cool. Spend a little bit of time in the park, you got some food, and it was just lovely.
Yeah, it just comes in. Yeah, just something like that.
Kudos to you for living on Belize.
What's that?
I said kudos to you for living in Belize. Cleanest place on the face of this earth.
Yeah, Belize is pretty nice.
Okay. This is all good.
Email
I think we have enough to talk about for now, and we will definitely be getting back in touch with you.
Yeah, you guys have an email. If you have any questions,
Yeah, we got your number, we got your
anything,
email.
just let me know.
Yep,
Well,
that sounds good.
thank
I
you
have
for all the information you provided.
Yeah, no problem. I have to leave because my kids are waiting. I'm gonna make dinner. So you have to excuse me. I didn't mean to be
I
selfish.
bet they'll enjoy it.
Yeah, we're gonna cook some meat or something. I have no idea.
Thank you very much.
Take care, guys. Good night.
Here you go.
Oh, yeah.
Not spring yet.
Yeah, definitely not.
Up next, we have the EDA with a park permit for concerts in the park and the request for a vendor to serve alcohol in a secured area during the concerts.
So you don't exactly have permits yet. Those are forthcoming. I am just tweaking a couple of details. And I can give you some information on, we've had one meeting, so I can kind of give you quick highlights of what we're planning, and then I can talk to you about the ordinance change requests that I'm kind of making. So we are bringing back the concert series. It'll again be the third Monday, so June 19th, 17th, and 21st. We are working on all new bands, so will not be repeat bands. And food trucks, again, just 2 food trucks. Dennis from the Phoenix House will be our it's resident food truck, for lack of a better word. He'll be at every one. And then we'll try to have a different second option at each concert. One new thing that we are hoping to do, and that'll be part of the permit that I will have for you for your, when is your next meeting?
14th.
Or at the annual meeting.
Yeah.
No, so it won't be that one.
28th.
Perfect, because I'll be on vacation the 14th. So I'll have permits for you for the next time you meet, specifically with all of this, but Katrina Flower is part of our committee, and one of her, the Dubs Farm person that she kind of works with out of her place, asked about, you know, could we set up kind of like a farmer's market before our concert series? So we were thinking that we could have from 3 p.m. until the start of the concerts and through the concerts if they wanted to stay. I'm not talking Harvest Fest vendors, I'm talking like just the front of the park on the Main Street side, maybe 4 or 5 different farmers.
Like the last old farmer's market
Yeah,
used to be.
type vendors, just on those Mondays to start, and maybe it's something that would take off, but it's just something to kind of start. Katrina had interest from a few different people because there's really nothing, no other farmers markets, I guess, on that particular day. I was thinking of getting the kettle corn person to come because he's usually a big draw and he's used to that area. So anyway, that's kind of a new concept we're building into this for this year. And then probably the biggest conversation that I wanted to have tonight was I was hoping that you would reconsider opening up the ordinance that you have already for Harvest Fest to include this concert series. Dennis Sheridan with the Phoenix House would be the vendor that we are speaking of specifically. He has a liquor license. He's done this before. We're talking about specifically an area off of his food truck. So his food truck would be one kind of fence, one side of the fence, so to speak, and then like a 40 by 40 fenced area that he would control with his licensed trained people with an in and out. He would sell just wine and beer, no liquor. And, it's a very short period of time as well. The concert series itself is only from 5:30 to 8:30. So, yeah, I lost my train of thought. So that's what we are hoping. It would be, again, specific to just the Phoenix House food truck. So that would be the only spot where people could enjoy. We would have a temporary, maybe a couple of temporary picnic table type things in that area where people could sit, eat their food, consume their beer, whatever, and enjoy the music.
Don't put the flash in your name. Don't put your flash in your name.
It definitely would not be called the Beer Garden. I don't even know if it has to have a name. It's just not, it's just
Would this be like in front of the Masonic Hall?
right. So Dennis Parks, so the food trucks are on Missisquoi Street, and Dennis's truck always has the first spot, because he usually connects to that power pole. Which something you said kind of alarmed me slightly when you were talking about the power. So like when you say temporary power, like in the past, like for the concert, Dennis has been able to plug into that pole, which of course means that he's got a cord.
The short term you can.
Okay, so
It
for
can't
like
be-
that, but you're just talking like
Days.
Monday through Saturday.
Yeah, it can be.
And he does have to put something over the cord if it crosses the sidewalk.
Yeah,
Either
I don't
tape
think
or
his actually
rubber
did, I
mats or
feel
something.
like, because we actually closed off this, just that little portion of the street, so,
Was he on the Siskiyou?
yes. Remember last year, the concerts?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, there is a sidewalk there.
Yeah, but I don't think, anyway, yes, we would have a.
If the street was.
Like able to run down from that pole across green space. Oh, no, then you still gotta cross that other
So
side.
I think maybe it's because the road is closed.
I don't
Maybe
know
that's how-
what he did, but I don't. Then the other food truck we had ran off a generator, because they don't have access. So yeah, so that is my request, that we could, I guess, enhance the ordinance to include those 3 nights.
It really wouldn't be the same though. The biggest difference that I see here in thinking about this is that when we changed the ordinance for the Harvest Festival, there are no open containers. That's tasting only, which is limited to like 2 ounces max. And if you buy alcohol, it has to leave the park in its closed container.
So this alcohol is not leaving the park or that specific enclosed area.
Do you have any idea what the state requirements are on?
They're a lot stiffer than they were.
Right, and I feel like they always have to have a gate or like a fenced in area, so
Yes.
people can't just walk in and out.
So this would be like, we were thinking of having like snow fence. And so he would have an employee at where you would come in. And so that employee would be stationed there, to
Right,
control that area.
watching the single point of entry, exit.
It would come off of his truck.
Yes. Do we want to just segue right into our next agenda item, which is reviewing park permit or park, ordinances? We're gonna specifically discuss the alcohol ordinance part. Okay,
It's your show.
let's do that. Now that we're talking about it. So I feel like the state regulations at this point have gotten to the point where any like mobile event, any food truck, alcohol event the state is gonna have more requirements than usually the local ordinances have, if they allow that. So it's my opinion that we change or strike some of the wording in the ordinances that make it so there's no alcoholic beverage at all at any time, and make it so it reads something to reflect what the state guidelines have. So,
Wise.
because in order to serve alcohol mobile, you would need to have a business with a liquor license, and they would need to follow the state guidelines. So if the ordinance is written to be no alcohol in the park or on village property or blah, 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 except for events and except for people following the state guidelines on selling liquor or alcohol, whatever you want to call it. And at that point, it's just the park permit would come into us. We say, what are their plans? Are they serving alcohol, whatever, blah, 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 it's
Fine
fine.
is acceptable, this is not.
And if they're doing it by the state guidelines, I think that's fine for me, because they make it nearly impossible to do anything fishy at this point.
They do.
They must have to get a permit. Don't they have to pull permit?
They do.
Yeah, do
Yeah,
that.
you have to present that as a.
They have to go through the town,
So-
and then those permits come to us here, and then
It goes to the town too, right?
they start with the town.
Yeah,
So I think there's already enough hoops to jump through. I don't think we need to have any more on our end.
Yeah.
And if we make it specific, and so I don't want to make any specific language to be like, no alcohol in the park, except for EVA during Harvest Fest or Monday nights,
Or maybe,
I don't want to get it so specific where it's just, 20 years from now, somebody's gonna look at the ordinance and go, why, what on earth is any of this? So. It's my opinion, we revisit this and make it easier for events.
I think that's a very good idea.
So do we want to get a copy of what the state requires for?
Well, it would be
Vendor?
nice to see it, and because quite frankly, it changes about once every 6 months.
It does change
Oh, it
often.
does change often. Yes, it does.
So I guess we could word it something like keeping up with the current
Yeah.
Vermont guidelines.
Uh-huh.
Right, yeah. Some of the things that I also, want us to be continuously mindful of is, the park is for all ages and the events are for all ages. So like having the blocked off spot that like really is very helpful. But like there's a lot of work that has gone into like prevention work and stuff around advertisements. And so just kind of keeping minimal. There's gonna be a sign and stuff, this is what you can buy, but,
Not a big light up Budweiser neon sign out front.
yeah, but just kind of like.
Damn, I was hoping to sell them that one.
Keeping all that pretty minimal, I think like. Kind of, it's just kind of like keeping like the flow and the feel of like the family friendly events that we are trying to put on.
And we can definitely add that in. What, I forget the name, the coalition youth tobacco. Coalition.
The tobacco.
Amy Brewer, yeah, and so I know she's touched on a lot of the advertisements, both tobacco and alcohol, especially within distances of schools and stuff, so we can definitely include that when we revise. If we revise the ordinance to say no specific liquor advertising to be visible, because I know a lot of like sandwich boards and stuff will be branded with whatever brand. So that's all stuff that we can do. But yeah, so what are our thoughts? We wanna take a look at the state requirements and then talk with, probably Jesse and have him draft up or take a look at this and see what we can do.
I think it makes a lot of sense to keep it like fluid enough so that we can make decisions as they come to us.
Yeah, and I think ultimately we can have it be up to the board when the permits come in. As it, as it
On a
is.
individual basis.
Right.
I mean, a lot of them, the ordinance is already written in there for what requests are. Like, it's kind of specific, be conducted fully within a designated area, extends 10 feet from the point of service and so forth. And that's all pertaining to the Harvest Festival.
Right.
And so, it's
Change
I don't
that
know if
part.
it's as simple as, like you said, instead of saying Harvest Festival upon request.
Any
Denied by,
approved festival.
It's not just that park one too, though. We have a specific no alcohol.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
chapter 4.
Yeah, right on the front.
right, but then it says, essentially, then it defaults to the ordinance, well, it's, I think the section 808
So
of
it's like
the Harvest
there's
Fest.
probably I think 3 ordinances that'll need to get adjusted.
Yeah,
To
because
do what we
here,
wanna do.
there's a caveat for tastings,
Right.
and that can go probably.
Do you want me to simply just ask Jesse to review our ordinance, and we're thinking of changing it to case by case, approved by, or haven't you?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it case by case, well, I guess technically
By
it would
review.
because, yeah, by review. But I think if we can draft up something that closely reflects the state's guidelines on what the vendors already need to do, I don't think we need to impose any, well, we'll review it, but I don't think we need to impose any additional restrictions other than maybe like continue for no more than 6 hours with no more 6 beverages. The state may say that already, but if they don't have a language like that, or cannot serve beyond the scope of your permit. Something like that. And just see what he says. And maybe check and
We could reach out to the state
liability.
liquor commissioner and ask them to send us all of the latest
So I'll do a little
bylaws.
search.
The last guy I talked to was actually nice and had a personality. It was the first in my entire adult life with Vermont Liquor Control, but it was quite pleasant.
Yeah, we'll get a hold of Jesse and just give him the skinny of what we want to do and.
I'm gonna see what
It's
other,
not like St. Albans has a fabulous wine and food festival in the fall that draws thousands of people. There are many things that we could do without having, falling down drunks in the park.
Yeah.
That
I think they're,
adults of consenting age could consume alcohol.
And they have like tastings, during their, farmers market.
Yes, they do.
I think the cost in the park too, I think 14 Star, somebody's there, there's somebody there, there's
A
a
brewery.
brewery there.
And Due North sells wine at every farmer's market all summer
Yeah,
long in
that's what I'm
Taylor Park.
I can reach out to the city and talk to them. Actually, I printed their ordinance, like this big. I'm not sure.
Pick out what we need.
Okay, was that all that we needed to discuss for, park board? Go ahead.
Do you know, Sandy, you might know this from Harvest Fest stuff, what the timeline is for the permits for the town? Like, as far as like, I have to get the permit to the town, or Dennis has to get the permit to the town by. What
And
that,
Dennis, actually, the state law, I believe, which is what the contention was for quite some time here. The state law says you can. And here, we had to have everything into the village 30 days before the event. But the vendors only had to get their stuff in 5 days before the event. And many of them balked at the 30-day thing because they didn't know within that 30-day time frame if they were gonna be able to attend the festival or not.
It is still 30 days. I thought it was,
No, we changed it.
yeah, before the next.
No,
board
I
meeting.
thought it was, did we change it permanently, or it was a one time, and then we were gonna adjust it?
We posted it, we marked it out in the paper.
I feel like we changed it, so as long as the permits are to us before our
Yeah.
meet, or as long as we have a meeting before the event, then they're fine.
And most of them do it long before the 5 days.
Yeah,
But the 30 days was just hard for a lot of,
oh, absolutely.
because they must have to pay when they do that.
It used to be $50.
and I don't think it's refundable. And then something happens and they can't come.
Right.
Okay, so I guess my question is, there's no, that was my question, like 30 days, I just want to make sure, like,
And BJ will be able to tell you exactly what the time frame is. Because it's the town that dispenses any alcohol permits in Enosburg. If you're gonna open a new bar in the village, you're gonna start out by going to the town.
Right. And this is definitely something like, when I started this idea for these concerts, it was definitely to be family oriented. I just had multiple people say it would be great to be able to have a beer with my whatever and listen to the park, and I kind of shied away a little bit, but after talking to Dennis, and he is obviously very experienced with this kind of thing, and we're not talking like an all-day event, like we're talking a few hours,
And it's not a Care Bears
exactly.
children's
It's not
concert either.
It's not alcohol, it's not liquor, it's wine and beer, and we're not talking like you going in and consuming 6 beers in that 3 hours, like they wouldn't allow that.
And it's an opportunity of like adult responsibility,
Right.
like just like to my point was just like about like making sure that it maintains that.
Right.
Because as much as it's also like an enjoyable opportunity for subset of our community members who are gonna enjoy it, it's also kind of like a teaching opportunity for other community members, and it's also like the food is separated enough from everything else, so like you don't even know what's going on in the food trucks when you're watching. So I don't see that it would be disruptive inherently as long as it's continuously done mindfully.
And to that regard, like, it puts a responsibility on us too as an organization, if we're inviting Dennis to do this, like, this is also his liquor license, so we have to be a little more vigilant. Not that we aren't vigilant anyway, but if we, like, I mean, let's be honest, you can't stop people from bringing a Yeti cup and who knows what's in it, and I'm not gonna go over and inspect everything, but if we were to notice somebody with an open container, we would have said something anyway, but, it really kind of steps that piece of it up a notch, so.
Mhm.
That's an understanding as well.
Exactly.
Okay, is that it for park stuff for now? Dave, do you wanna go? I don't wanna keep you too long. We have to talk about a crosswalk, final design, curb cuts and stuff. Boring. You can go ahead if you want.
I can do that. This might be boring too. Could you put that up, Abby?
Is,
First thing I want to say is that I don't want to leave this world being known as a sign guy.
Oh, come on, you already are.
I know.
But here I am again. So anyway, probably 3 or 4 years ago, the EI discussed moving, the possibility of moving the electronic sign that's over by the elementary school, maybe over to the corner up here by the bank. I've
People's Trust Company.
also heard that it might have been discussed moving it in front of the town clerk's office. And anyway, that seemed to have kind of fallen by the wayside. So in recent times, thinking about the armory coming up with the town offices there, we've wandered around and seen a lot of these signs in the area and thinking that a great place for one of those signs would be right in front of the armory. So
My dates would match.
with that, we proposed to the select board about a month ago, that we try to do something like this. And I had, before that, contacted the sign company, Vermont Display. And Vermont Display is the company that has put in most of these signs that you see here. There are a lot of options with these signs. There's a lot of variability. There's color, there's monochrome. I particularly like Ivy's sign.
Yeah.
I have talked with the town clerk over there. She's really excited about these things. Anyway, I won't get
Tom,
Well-
was,
Wendy.
do the one.
Oh, okay.
Do the one.
So you said Wendy, right?
Wendy.
Yeah, she used to be Wendy Meyer.
Anyway, she's really excited about having that sign. And feels that it's a great thing, great tool up in the town. The issue is they are expensive. So
What issue is it?
a sign like my fifth, our application here would be between $25,000 and $30,000.
Oh, God, that's not expensive.
The reason that I'm here talking to you folks is because I would really like to see maybe a joint effort between the village and the town to install a sign here at some point. The way these things are managed, I think to make that possible, because I think you as a village could edit that sign, and Village Hall or whoever now could edit the sign. You know, have one person in each place that would have that option for that availability. So that's basically it. Communication, they actually go back to the school sign over there. That school sign is pretty much everything. And if you look at it, all you're gonna see now is the date and the temperature.
Yeah.
And that's all they're able to do.
Oh, that's why it went to that.
So
I wondered.
Because it used to be like, trustees meeting Monday, Tuesday night, whatever. And then all of a sudden, I walked by thinking, well, that's lazy. Now you're only gonna do the time and the temperature.
If they have computers connected to TV monitors inside to post information for parents and the teachers.
okay, so a couple of important things I want to mention. One of them is that the distributor is located in Enosburg. The Vermont company. These things are manufactured in South Dakota.
So a United States company.
Now, coming up, March 28th at 6:30 in the evening. They have volunteered to come here with a trailer with one of those signs on it and display and show people here that are interested in what it can do. So what I'm asking you is, are you interested in looking at this?
Jesse and I, just a little side note, Jesse and I were talking about the signs today, and if both boards are in agreement, he and I have already kind of agreed to work together to find a grant or two to try to get as much of this funded that way. He said, made it sound like he had one that he was already looking at, that wouldn't be open until July. So it would be kind of a spring, summer project for us to try to find alternate financing.
It's a big project to do in a hurry anyway.
And kind of to Dave's point, to have us kind of work together so it can be a village and town information shared. So I just wanted to kind of side note that.
How old is the school sign?
Point.
I didn't know, I don't know, it is probably.
Probably 20 years old.
So one other thing that I,
Electronics, it's 4.
one thing, and I discussed this with the town clerk, I gave. One thing that I think would be really valuable is, for instance, you know, you're talking about when you have an event, certain streets are closed. It would be really nice to be able to just display on that screen. You know, Mrs. Street closed, such and such a date.
Maybe we could get Ray and Sons to do the brickwork
Actually,
as a contribution.
Heidi got their masonry volunteered. They got their electrical volunteered. So,
I like how it sounds. It's also like so easy to see if you're driving by the river. This one is so hard to see even walking.
the Newport, I see Newport sign a lot.
Mhm.
And I'm driving down the road, and I see the color, there's certain colors. It doesn't register to me.
Yeah, the letters have a tendency to all run together.
The definition is just not there.
And this could be a good tool for like any emergencies or anything like that. You already talked road closures, but.
Yeah.
Hurricane warning, whatever.
Anything like
Yes.
that. Is there any FEMA grants available for?
That we've got to look into.
It's excellent. I'd be happy to look at the signs and.
The 28th at 6:30 is our board meeting.
How long it would be, but it could be.
Did you plan that?
Did you throw a little stick in there somewhere?
That's your joint meeting?
No, that's just our regular board meeting. And it's actually the board meeting that we have to go through and set the date, time.
And then our meetings are open to the public.
It's our
Anyone
organizational meeting.
from the select board is welcome certainly to come that night, the 28th, and be here to listen to this sign guy.
How, we have a little bit of ARPA stuff left. Right? No,
It's earmarked.
It's earmarked already, unless we decide to explore alternate financing for one of those
I
projects.
thought we had a little bit left.
So,
I think there are a lot, Richford got theirs covered with a grant recently.
Yeah,
Oh, they used ARPA, okay, well,
so Richford, you come from, they put it in a line item in their general.
is it Highgate Town and Village?
It is, but they're pretty much together.
Yeah, it's one municipal.
So it was a town line item.
Actually, somehow Swan was mixed up in that too. I don't quite understand because.
Wanted Village, I know when you're coming into the park, they have their own sign. I know they have the electronic sign.
it's like.
Well,
So just,
Yeah.
just let me quickly say, and I know it's getting long. But options, there are options with this thing. So, there's something called a matrix. And that's the, number of lines, in a vertical way and a horizontal way. And then there's a pixel, rating. And in reverse to a monitor, the pixel rating, if it's low, it's better. Because if it's low, the pixel distance center to center is closer. If the number's big, then they're far apart.
Okay. Yeah, I like Highgate's.
Yeah, maybe.
That one you can always see pretty good and it looks good.
And it looks nice.
Yeah, it looks nice, you can.
And the armory is
see it
brick.
when you drive.
Yeah, I think it would fit.
No.
Great. But I definitely think that it's something that it's worth looking into, and I say we chase some grants and see how much we can get, and then we'll squabble over where the rest of the money comes from later.
So the 28th, it sounds like was just like the date that they had available. Did we just figure out this board meeting?
I personally don't think it would be a good night for it. It's our organizational meeting. So we have to go through and set everything for the year. Because the village meeting was,
So you think you'd prefer not to do another 28th?
I don't think so,
Let
no.
me see if I can change it. That, this thing is not something that resides here in Vermont, apparently. And it's gonna be here for 2 days, 27th and the 28th. But let me see.
Okay.
I mean, maybe she can hold the Bible for us.
Oh, you work miracles, you'll come up.
So about your meeting on the 28th. Are you gonna be able to look at other agenda items?
I think so, but just to have everybody, move themselves and look at a sign and then kind of regroup, I think.
The first thing they have to do is the organizational of
Yeah.
everything, and then any other agenda items after that takes a little
If
while.
you could get him to change, we would certainly entertain being happy to see.
Okay.
And if he knows we're interested, he might be happy to pick another day.
So I just want to say one other thing. I'm pushing the town to put a flag on that flagpole over there. It is a tremendous pole. I mean, it's high, it's.
Needs a tremendous flag too.
It needs to have a flag, it needs to have a flag. But you both need a flag here.
We don't have a poll, do we?
I
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, flag and
I
flag.
think we're not hearing, Andy Bolio usually keeps us pretty well connected with our, making sure we have, I think we just got new flags for wastewater and stuff last year. So I think we're okay at the moment, but I can verify.
Are you selling flags?
I'm searching for them, but I don't see.
We have one right in front of the wastewater
Okay.
building. I don't. No, I think it's just in front of wastewater. I don't believe there's one up there.
I don't know, there might be,
Is there?
There's one right in the corner.
yeah, it's like kind of like,
It's by the pole.
well, because you can't put it up front, it's just tank it. Yeah, you can't.
Right, yeah, because I know we have one, yeah, there's the one right in front of the wastewater. That just got a new flag last year.
Yeah.
I guess missing this pole up there.
Ask the Legion, they may know where to get flags, if you're looking for flags.
No, I think he's trying to sell us a flag. I don't think he's trying to buy a flag.
I'm trying to make sure that
There is.
there is, so that you can use it as an argument to them, right?
Oh, they'll do it. They'll do it. They just need to.
Perfect, keep on pushing.
Oh, and he does it so gently that they don't even know they got it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sally.
Have a good night.
What's your next thing, please? I just realized I might have done so far. So the icon is Saturday, April 8th. Do I have time?
If you get a permit to us by the 28th,
Okay.
we could approve it.
It only have to be like, what, 7 days?
No, it's the next meeting, well,
Meeting before.
Yeah.
meeting before.
Yeah.
Snuck up on. Last year's in my concert series. That 3,000 eggs are ordered in here.
Gonna be fun filming them all.
Oh, no, we buy them filled now.
Well,
No, we didn't.
do that. It was cheaper not to, but I've got kids to do it, don't worry. I got that organized. So, all
Yeah, so get
Even though
us
suckers
out
are
on the
not
28th
fun.
and you'll be all
Okay.
set.
right.
Okay, we skipped one because we got the date, so we're gonna go back to Dickinson Main Street crosswalk. We're gonna verify the final design and the curb cuts. So,
Man, it's just a, formality, with the curb cuts, obviously the curb cuts are gonna be changing a little bit. I'm sorry, it's hard to read that printout.
No.
The biggest decision, I guess, would be made would be on this sheet here.
Mhm.
You wanted the bump outs? Bump outs.
do we wanna do them?
Yes, so we can do, and we thought about doing planters inside of those. Make it look a little bit nicer. So either we don't do it at all, it just stays kind of the way it is, except for the crosswalks gonna be there. Or you do the bump outs on either side. They do have removable ones. Of the little yellow barriers. So then the highway crew can take those down and remove the planters in the fall. for plowing purposes.
So those are actual barriers, the yellow poles or whatever.
You can get, well, yeah, you can get ones that are.
Oh, so we're not gonna just throw planters on where the yellow dots are?
Right. Well, we could, I mean, you can, I mean, it's advised to have those.
Yeah, so you're saying like we could do the yellow, those 3 poles and have a planter inside that, is what you're saying? If we wanted.
If you want to, I mean, that's totally up to you, if you wanna make it look a little nicer than just the yellow bump outs, that. Just the planters, you just recommended, so I mean, this is
Did you
approved.
say could or couldn't? I mean, Could. Has anyone seen the ones in St. Albans City?
Yes,
They're planters.
yeah.
They're-
Huge.
I mean, they're magnificent, but I mean, to me, that would serve as a bump out.
Yeah, you hit that, you're probably gonna stop.
Probably. If you light on the inside, you might stop.
I think with the state, there has to have to be like the reflective bollards or something, right? The planters have to be behind it, or what was the final verdict with that?
It was recommended, it was never had to be, it was recommended that we have either of those yellow in front of it. Have some kind of reflection for winter time, but
Just those would be ugly.
Well, what if the bump outs come out completely in the winter, I would be okay with that too.
yeah, I mean, the flower pot things are just an extra recommendation for aesthetics.
I say giant flower pots.
I-
That way- We could put seasonal flowers and stuff in there, but in the winter, we can just totally remove it that way. Nobody's complaining about.
I think the flower pots.
Who's
the
taking
yellow
care of
poles-
the flowers?
What's
Who's
that?
taking care of the flowers?
Your group?
That's realistically, though, who's taking care of them? I mean,
So-
it sounds great.
This
I'm all
this
over
came
it.
up during that meeting, because it's Enosburg Initiative that did this, and that came up.
I don't want to fully volunteer somebody, but I have been having conversations with both Hollow Career Center the past couple of weeks. They're looking for some more community projects.
They even have a greenhouse.
Right, and like, part of the conversation was, so John, you'll be getting an email at some point, is about them building planters, planting. There'd be very specific, like, I think, it sounds like they have a pollinator plan in place, but it's like connected with their education, so like, they would be continuously working on it. Their question would be, or the big question would be like around the gaps of when we have students in the building.
June to August.
Sort of the same topic, but side note on that too is I just had a meeting yesterday with Brenda Stanley and last name, but another community member. And we're talking with the grant that we got for the bridge, redoing the entrance to the bridge, and then Maple Park, we got some plans for the fountain. And there's 2 garden clubs through the library that would be willing to help with some of the maintenance side of things, just some community members.
The biggest question to me, maintenance wise, in this area is water.
That's. Yeah, water in because there's no.
Depending on the size of the planter though, it may collect enough rainwater.
What, Mike? Yeah.
Like on a cart, but
You mean like if we asked Champlain Chevrolet if they would come and do it with their 4-wheeler and their tank, if they wash all their.
I didn't know if the village had like one of those.
We got a 100-gallon tank.
No, we don't have anything right now. It's not something we have at the moment. But,
You know what we're talking.
Eli has a
Yeah, I know.
100-gallon tank.
I have a tank.
And Eli just volunteered to water the flowers.
But it does sound like there's definitely possibility of, for collaboration.
It's the Cold Hollow Career Center came up in the conversation yesterday with the other projects about collaborating, and I have already reached out to the high school knowing that springtime kiddos need their volunteer hours, and then the ROCC group as like worst case scenario for especially some of the stuff we have going on around the bridge.
The summer camp for 5 weeks in the summer too.
Yep.
Middle.
You'll find the ROTC group this year. It's just a fantastic bunch of kids.
I guess the biggest thing is we're going with the traffic calming bump out. We can figure out waters, flowers.
I think so.
Okay.
Well, that,
If everyone agrees.
yeah, I can get enough volunteers.
Okay.
Yeah, I think people can take care of this. I do have a question. We don't have any line item or any budget specific thing to take care of flowers, do we?
So we have it's now maintenance of parks, the way we redid the budgets. There is certain money in there, which is just to purchase the flowers
Okay.
for the bridge. So right now, it's kind of all falling under maintenance of parks, but that's something if we're gonna be expanding with the flowers and stuff.
We
we'll
might need
have
to-
to factor this year.
Right, because if we're gonna do a bunch of streetscapes and stuff, I feel like maybe we should put something in
It would be great.
flower specific.
I mean, right now, we
Really
can
nice
put
to
it
be known as the place that looks good.
Yeah, oh, that's like, again, like going back to that first like view of going into the village, you know, as you turn the corner, like.
How much, well. Can you just make a note of that? That way when we get the budgets next year, we can talk about
it's already
that.
on my list.
Okay, perfect.
This is a 3-year plan for her.
So yeah, do we want to do 3, 1, 2, 3 on each approach and departure? For a total of 12, I say we order 15 because I'm assuming that some will get broke.
You're probably right.
You're talking the flower?
Yeah,
I mean, if we do the ones like in St. Albans, you
You only need a
want each
couple.
one.
Yeah.
They're-
I mean, they really are. They're like,
It would-
They're
like,
They're
50
black,
just have certain
like-
price.
they're plastic,
I think the plastic.
made out of PVC, of material of some kind.
They're probably-
They've got a rolled lip. You know, shaped like typical flower pot, but they are like this big around.
Yeah, you'd probably be able to put one in each corner.
Yeah,
so just,
so you need four.
just 4 by
Yeah.
5.
And Ken's already gone, you know, with the bump out, he's already, I mean, Gary went and measured to make sure buses will have an issue getting around the corner and the whole here, so.
Right in front, Mimo.
Yeah, I can picture
So
them, but
these
I'm not
ones that
sure.
I'm seeing like are on, it's like curved and,
Yeah, that one is inside a curved on green space.
yeah.
Or brown space.
See another.
So,
Okay,
not on the roadway.
That's it for that.
so maybe that's where I'm getting confused. Okay,
It's-
sorry, I'm not trying to be a pain, I just, for some reason that was sticking in my head, I just wanted to.
Do we want to get a couple different designs and?
So we're going with the bump out, so if we can proceed with this, we can always
Yes.
decide on the
Let's-
spots later on.
Let's do bump outs, seasonal, flower pot, removable,
Let's just wait,
take them out in the winter.
get this part moving and then.
And be excused for a few
No
minutes.
problem.
What we're hoping it for.
What's our projected timeline for finishing this project?
We've got, like, we're hoping right off in the spring, like as soon as we can. We've already got, we're gathering the stuff we need. Ready to work, the highway department is. And then, we've got Ryan, Magnan, who did the,
Doing concrete.
gates.
Yeah.
Do the concrete, yeah.
Awesome.
They're
He
starting.
worked
I
out
was
pretty well
telling
last
somebody
time.
by the time school starts next year, I was like, I feel pretty confident about that. but
No,
you never know
definitely. We're hoping
progress.
to do it right off as soon as we can, weather-wise.
So I think they can be had. If you.
I think
Yeah,
that's.
is that
that's
back
good
in
now.
stock now?
I think
No,
that's good.
yeah, we're,
Because there isn't a crosswalk in the village that shows anymore. I will be right back.
Don't worry, I budgeted extra for that this year too.
Are you, Sandy, are you just taking a phone call or are you going to the
No, I
hotel?
have to go to the hotel and let somebody.
Okay, should we wait for you? We just got a letter of support and then a credit card policy.
Are we going to have a discussion?
These are 2 new policies that we're presenting to the
No,
board.
executive session.
Yeah, that's an executive.
I'll be back.
Okay,
Is that all right?
yep,
I
yep,
just have to go let them in.
yep.
While I'm standing on the porch, no.
we have Tim Smith in the corner.
He's next up,
Oh,
anyway.
so you have to. Do that.
So that's it for that?
Yep.
Really don't.
And he's like, yeah.
I don't know how you guys can stay sitting in there.
Fine.
I must have a good one.
Right.
Okay, mine, that's why I put that one over there, because that one's horrible.
Good evening, Tim. How are you?
What was that?
Good evening. How are you?
Oh, thank you, John. Same to you. I'm doing well.
So Tim, we have you next up on the agenda here with a letter of support for 366 Main.
Yeah, so, we, in doing 366 Main, we've only had minimal grant dollars. We got some for the sprinkler system and a little bit for phase one, I believe. But if we take the next step, and I understand that in some ways this might be the cart before the horse, but we want to apply for the state ARPA dollars that they have for community revitalization, in hopes that we'd be able to use that money to put 4 more apartments in above the annex portion, which is the warehouse out back. And we understand that we would still need to go before DRB to get to decipher the parking scenario, because we have utilized all the parking that we have on the side of the building, which is about 25 parking spots. But we want to get this application in. We can always refuse it, but we want to get the application in and make sure we're considered for some dollars to do the construction of the 4 apartments above, as I said, what used to be the former warehouse.
So I know parking will come up. It's kind of a hot button topic.
Yeah.
Surrounding this project. Do you have any foreseeable solutions for that?
Yeah, we same ones that were on the table the last time we did it, when we bought the building, and that was we have permission to use the Quincy House. Their parking out back. That did not appear to carry much weight with the DRB. So, and I had the conversation with John. I guess I'm a little skeptical of the process and how that's going to be viewed. But as I said, we want to get the application in on the money, and if it doesn't materialize, we don't take it. But the Quincy House is our option, and for that space. And we go around and around on this. So we have 25 spots. We designated one for Ben Maddox. We designated one for Pat Hayes. We have 12, 13, or 14 in that range for the supervisory union. And then currently we have 6 of the 8 apartments have cars, so they have a designated spot as well. And then we have a handicap spot. Hopefully that adds up to 25. So what the situation is, you never know who your tenants are going to be, right? I mean, if you have 8 apartments and all 8 individuals work and they get up and leave by 8 in the morning, or in this case, if we get to 12, if they all work and they get up and leave in the morning and then come back after 4:30 or 5, it really shouldn't be an issue, because the supervisory union won't pull in until around 8 o'clock, and then they'll head out around 4:30. So if that pans out, there seems to be like there'd be plenty of parking, especially overnight. But on the reverse of that, if you end up with 8, 10, 12 retired individuals who don't work and stay home, then that sort of messes the plan up, if you will. So it's hard to track, not knowing who you're going to end up with tenants. We did have, I think we're going to have 2 turnovers on the apartments. We had some people looking at today. The individual looking at it does work, gone in the morning. So that's where we're at.
So you're going for another 4 apartments?
That's a long-term plan. I mean, if we don't get the grant, it's going to be put off for a year or 2. We don't have the money to put into that. We're putting enough into it as it is now. So the grant dollars will be key to whether we do it or not. If we don't get any, we're gonna design. We have designed the annex, if you will, the warehouse to accommodate 4 apartments upstairs. The building is laid out with a stairway to accommodate those. But at this stage, we don't have to do them, but we can move forward with them at any time in the future, assuming we resolve the parking discussion.
Now, are these gonna be affordable housing units or just straight apartments?
I call it workforce housing. We're not bound to do low to moderate income unless we get the grant. And then you do have to meet guidelines relative to a certain percentage of the average household income. So
The grant that you're applying for is for more affordable housing?
more housing.
But there's guidelines within that.
Yeah,
have,
there is, but they're pretty liberal. I don't have it in front of me. I can share that with Abby and get it to you. It's like a single homeowner is like, or a single apartment dweller is like 36,000. Family of 2 is like 49,000. Family of 4 is 64,000. Something along those lines. I can dig them up and share them with you, but I think they're very reasonable for what the expectation is.
What are we thinking?
That's part of their process.
Yay?
Yeah.
Leonard, Eli, what do you think?
Go for it, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. We don't need a motion or anything.
Yeah. Usually do to authorize me to sign and support or whatever we would.
Oh, right. Okay, I will hear a motion to give the board gives permission to John DeSaro to sign the, letter of support for Franklin County Industrial Development Corporation's CRRP application. So Heather with the first, Heather with the second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Just mark we're missing Sandy. Okay, Tim.
All right, thank you all. John,
Thank you very much.
I'll have Elizabeth reach out to you if you need any wording for it or any information to add to it.
Oh, I got the letter already.
Oh, you do? Okay. Never mind.
I'll scan it and send it to her tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you all. Have a good
Have a good
night.
evening.
Nice.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Shauna.
Credit card policy. What have we got here?
So folks did approve already the Rusty Bob get a credit card. We have done so. Got a credit card.
Back, good points, what we get.
We got cash backs. We're hoping to build up some rewards points and support the team with different things.
Better pay it off. Prime right now, like 24% APR on credit cards.
Yeah, up there.
Yeah.
So Abby just drafted up, she's between the credit card policy and the investment policy, which will go next. She's talked with, well, at least cities and towns, a couple other small munis, kind of seeing what they've done. So this, I don't know if you want to read through it real quick, but we just came up with a credit card. I think Abby, the credit, she came up with a credit card policy, going forward. For the credit card, I mean, we do plan on using it for reoccurring, because we did get some discounts on, like our Comcast bill is now discounted because we're using auto pay through a credit card.
Cool if it worked all the time.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
I went out. So yeah, that's, want to read through it, but this is the policy we came up with.
It's pretty straightforward. Right now, we just have one credit card, and I did make sure to note here, we still have to follow the procurement policy, and John or myself has to approve any and all purchases, and I will be pretty strict about making sure all receipts, everything needs to be accounted for.
So under card holders and limits, can we just throw some language in that says board of trustees or something along those lines? So board of trustees, village manager, or director of finance.
So I have us following the procurement policy. I referenced it in there. So you guys approve purchases above $5,000. So that wouldn't change.
Okay, all right, yeah.
I can add it in there if you want it more specific, but that's kind of why I left.
Cause then we have to approve like everyone.
No, it'd just be any one of us, either the board or the manager or. the-
So like because I'm a department head, I can approve up to $500. John can approve up to $5,000, and then anything over that, the board has to approve. So for like the recurring charges and any of that, John and myself can sign off on any of those kind of day-to-day stuff, and anything bigger than that, then we need to still follow what our procurement policy states.
Yeah, I was just thinking on terms of emergency, but there's not gonna be an emergency that's that bad.
And you guys still at that point can
Yeah.
authorize. I mean, I definitely can add you in if
No,
that's where you wanna go. And if you guys are good with this and wanna go further, that I do have a clean copy that we can sign tonight.
I say, let's go.
Okay with me.
Your motion to approve the Village of Enosburg Falls credit card policy. Eli was first, line with the second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay.
Around with all the other
Yep,
stuff you have
yep.
behind.
Sandy, Tim just left. We had a quick meeting with him about 366 Main.
Oh, okay.
So we signed that letter of support for their
Good.
newest adventures. Other than that, you didn't miss much.
I didn't even hit the box truck as I peeled around in the backyard.
So investment policy up next, some backdrop here, and then again, having go through a bit of a bunch of investigating into the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, municipalities and so forth. We kind of got a thumbs up from Vermont Cities and League of Cities and Town as a good idea. We do have some funds that we could invest. Our goal is to, I guess our overall goal is to invest some of the funds we do have. And, hopefully start building up some of those funds even more. So that we can, end goal is to become a little more self-sufficient. So we can borrow against ourselves, if we will. We're at least paying ourselves 1% as opposed to a bank or having to go to another financial institution to do these things. So that's kind of the concept behind this. So if one department runs into trouble, we need to get funds, and we just go to the department and borrow it. And again, pay ourselves back on that. In the meantime, not looking to buy anything like a new startup pharmaceutical company or something, mainly like CDs, money market. I mean, right now, some of this money is just sitting in a checking, can easily get some money.
They're all in games.
Yeah. So. Abby?
Now, just kind of looking at, we've got a couple of our enterprise funds that, like John said, are very, very comfortable. And when I reached out to leagues of cities and towns, they definitely gave the thumbs up, encourage it, support it. They connected me with the town of Hyde Park, and I chatted with Jennifer, their financial manager there, because they just implemented this a very similar policy, and they're doing the same thing that we want to do, just be more self-sufficient, have a little more.
Well, and it's a prudent use of the money. Right now, what you've got sitting in checking is not doing anything at all.
Right,
Might as well just put it in your sock.
yeah, and that was kind of the other thing we have, a couple of the healthier enterprise accounts and we're not gaining hardly anything sitting in the bank. So if there's a way that we can keep what we need for our day-to-day expenses and maybe anything above and beyond that.
We're looking at CDs are 4.5% right now.
Remember the money market.
We have, one of our accounts right now is a money market and it's.
Look, there's like
CDs
for
out of
access.
So in here, I'm just thinking like turnover wise, and I don't want to forget any investments or any accounts or have them get lost or anything like that. They're gonna be recorded on somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, are we gonna start our own like investments recording?
I've reached out to our auditors, I've reached out to KBS, kind of, hey, this is what we're thinking, kind of, how do you want us to keep it for the book? So I haven't got a response back, I'm gonna kind of poke at them again, but I will make sure, however we set up, it's part of when they do our audit, kind of like another layer there, so it will be monitored.
And again, everything we're writing, we do with the mindset. Both of us fall off the face of the earth tomorrow. It's easily tracked, figured out. And,
Yeah.
With the village in mind at the end of the day,
So which internal controls are we thinking will handle this? Just kind of the auditors?
I think with having the auditors, I think within this, it has us putting together a quarterly, and the reporting on the last page that, between John and myself, quarterly we'll report to the board and have the statements and everything to kind of back it up. So it'll be very transparent. Everything that's happening with these accounts, and then the auditors will be kind of the backstop.
Drafted this.
This is actually from the Leagues of Cities and Town. It's their kind of base policy. I went through and we tweaked some stuff a little bit based on my conversation with Hyde Park and whatnot, but this is a policy that Leagues of Cities and Town put out for everybody to kind of model and go forward with.
Looks good. I also noticed there's kind of a short time horizon for most of these investments. 3 years is max.
So the better rates, I know for the CDs are generally 12 to 15 months, so we would be able, pretty much annually, be able to review if we want to keep it in, if we want to.
We don't want to tie it up.
Yeah, we're
Okay,
gonna keep it.
exactly.
No, that's good. Good too.
Yeah.
Because part of this too is to still be able to have access to those funds if we need to have access.
Right. And if you tie them up for 5 years and you pull them to.
Right.
No, I think this is a good idea.
And depending on what you've got them tied up in some instances, even if you do have to take half of it out, you're only gonna pay a penalty on the half that you took out. So,
Right.
and that's usually quite small.
Right.
I think it's a wise move.
I think it's a good idea, and I think it's
It's time.
we're moving in the right direction of, like you said, having the village a little bit more. We're not going anywhere, so we need to start thinking a little more financially.
More
dependent.
cost efficient in a lot of this stuff. It just gives us more opportunity and it makes it more comfortable and, I think it's a good show of faith to our community members, if we have other ways rather than constantly adding the tax to the tax rate.
Project comes up. Yeah, let's do it.
I really like the idea of being able to have the money to pay for something.
We're going to do this and this is how we're paying for it. Are you happy?
I really like that idea, and this is one step closer.
Yeah.
I'm green light. Let's hear a motion to accept this.
Second.
The first, Sandy with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
That is-
We are also still, I think we talked about this once, we are in talks with, working with People's Trust and bringing some of our financial there too, so. Yeah.
They put together a proposal that we just got,
From TD, right?
No.
Community National
Oh, from-
and TD.
From TD.
and our TD account and we're looking at our Community National operating account. To
Going
see,
both
just
of them.
kind of shopping around and seeing what they can do for us.
That's good. Yeah. All right, let's get the manager's report.
I made it light for you folks. Nothing really to report. I figured we had a big enough agenda. Take it easy on you.
I wanna know what this little,
You're drawing.
like a year ago, that would happen.
Well, I thought that was me. It was that.
Oh, this, I can tell you exactly what this was, okay? 'Cause
I
this
was
is where
thinking
we-
back a few years, thinking, well, it's gotta be something.
Where we have a picnic table now, another picnic table, and Ken and Gary and I were talking, I'm gonna be looking for a grant to get 2 more picnic tables for the park.
Great. It was wonderful last year and into the fall to see people using them.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Ken was saying there was people out there sitting at them the other day.
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
So they've obviously gone up significantly in price from the time last year if we were to go the same
Well,
way.
as-
But my project for the next couple of weeks is to try to see if I can find a grant to get a couple more in there.
Great.
Never lovely.
You're a good woman.
I hope you guys are okay with that. I'm getting more picnic tables.
Yeah, you could have just slipped that in casually, say, oh, this is my,
Right.
Yeah.
this is my manager's report. If you look at my drawing. All right. Whoa, 2-page agenda here. I haven't seen either one. Other business.
I've got a couple of things. First one, pretty simple, but just kind of a request. Could we repost, or Abby could, repost, information about, voting and stuff for the village, like when to do it and where?
Yeah, we plan to put a post out as we get closer to, if our meeting's not till the 14th and our voting's not till the 14th. We're gonna be putting some signage on the doors out here. Front porch corner on Facebook, and it's going in, the Messenger and Courier.
Perfect. I've heard from a lot of community members. They don't know, they haven't heard from either the village or the town, though I know there has been a Facebook post when our town village report came out, but I just had people asking when to vote and how. The next one is I have coming back to you from our meeting last week, so with my Vermont Youth Project hat on. Been doing a lot of paced, interesting work on the youth center. And I've got a lot of information on what generally works for hours of operation, about staff, possibility of an AmeriCorps member as part of the staff, which actually is really phenomenal. John and I have kind of worked on a potential location. But what I'm wondering about is, we're going into grant season, and I just learned a few days ago of an Ask for What You Want grant from Bernie Sanders.
Oh, well.
And this program very specifically, they fund a lot of stuff. I've looked at what they were funding over the years. It's varied. But Bernie Sanders is one of our biggest champions right now of, like the after school for all is the phrase. So expanding out of school, third space opportunities for youth. Like many grants, it's due in a few days. The grant is very simple. What I mean by like many grants is you don't normally get a preview that they're coming. They just come across your lap
Bingo.
and you
Be
apply.
ready.
Right. So, and I don't know if there's more that you want to add, John, but like what I'm wondering is, these grants are, this particular one I sent to both of you today. I don't know if you got a chance to look at it. Super simple, like it's a narrative grant. The reporting is very simple. It's just kind of a question of or to give permission for the village to apply for these grants. They're gonna come rapid fire. We don't know when, so it's kind of, do we try to apply for some grants now, knowing that we could possibly be funded by fall? Or it's probably going to be waiting another year for a center, because spring is typically grant season.
Well, if a miracle happened and you got it, would you have a place?
I think so. I think there's a pretty good chance that, yeah, there's a location. The village would be looking at hiring, ideally a full-time director. I worked out a budget. John's seen it, like some part-time staff, but then an AmeriCorps member, which AmeriCorps members, they work about 10 months and they often have like two goals. One of them is provide direct service to the organization. So they do youth programming and work with that. But then the other part of it is actually the sustainability of the program. So they would be looking for new grants for future sustainability. They would be doing fundraisers. They would be working on the website. They'd be bringing in, practices to maintain the organization. So there would be the two full-time staff. There'd be a director, an AmeriCorps member.
So the AmeriCorps member would do all of the fiscal sustainability
They
stuff?
would be doing a lot of it. So the director would oversee them. But the AmeriCorps member, and I've worked with them a lot, through after school, I've had one directly under me as a staff person. They don't technically work for you, but they serve with you. And then a lot of my community partners have used them as well. And they tend to be the ones who do a large portion of the grant writing. But supervised by the director, and they're happy to, I'm sure she'd be involved in the money. But so that's kind of like, and then the budget that I was looking at too was kind of a little balloon for the first year. So because it would include some furnishings, supplies for the space, and then a certain amount of funds set aside for what I would call my programming contracted services to bring in specialized programming for the youth center. Some of the ideas that kind of played around with were like CPR first aid, or maybe some lessons of various types. There could also be people doing like affinity groups in the youth center as well. So that's kind of like where I've gotten in like a pretty short 2-week period. I've been reaching with people from the state. I have some high school students, on a small group of high school students as a focus group to help support kind of like the planning and mission of this, as well as guidance counselors in high school.
I offered them good support that we needed to from our end. And then, with some goals in mind, like I was talking about, last night I brought up some art type thing, but, what does it look like? Try not to have it just be a youth center with a pool table in the middle and, kind of focus based, it sounds like Heather's working on that. So it's more these projects we're working on, kind of, goal setting. And so as the youth come in, there's projects to be done, not just whether they're working on it individually or as a group to go water our flowers or something, or do art projects. It's kind of,
By chance looking at the space on the corner?
How much is this grant?
And ask for what you need. So I've seen the budget that I'm looking at right now.
Yes, they have to have a CD.
So the budget I'm looking at right now, which again, like I said, is kind of inflated for being year one, is about $250,000. And I've seen them fund up to $750,000. Some of the grants were
Go big or go home.
Some of the grants were actually pretty small, like 15,000. But also this project is still on par for the grant that I was talking about last meeting too, which is a 3-year cycle grant. And then there are some other grants that I am aware of that this would fit as well. And there's some bigger grants that if this didn't work this spring, I really think that this project could work into the Northern Borders Commission's grants, but that is a huge undertaking of a project.
We'd have to have a talk on that one too, so we're not competing.
So that's the other thing
Village
too,
has
there's a lot
other
of
interests
reasons.
in the Northern Border grant.
Yeah, because that one does a lot of other municipal stuff, so yeah, so I mean, they're exactly. I don't, that's not the first grant that I would be looking for something like this.
Is there gonna be any competition with any of these grants with the rec department? Cause I know, have you talked to Margot about their community center?
I have talked to Margo about the community center. She hasn't said that they were seeking any particular grants for right now. They're not looking for like, they don't know when they're gonna fully be in that space yet either, but the activities won't be in competition. And the activities also won't be in competition.
And they're looking for grants for the playground.
Yeah.
Right now. I do know
Rec
that.
center.
Catherine Bennett would be a good one to touch base with on that. She seems to be kind of spearheading what they're doing.
They've actually agreed to be on the subcommittee for that. But, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's always competition with grants, but nobody's like seeking this specific grant.
So let's say the village applied and we did receive all these funds. Who is going to, I guess, steer that money into where it needs to go? Do the hiring, find the space, like get the project off the ground.
Well, there's a certain amount that I'm willing to volunteer to support doing, and then, you know, some of the work would kind of sit, like John and Abby would have responsibilities, and then the board would essentially be hiring a director. And then the director would then, you'd be a department lead, essentially, and, take on some of that work and responsibility as well. So we would have location down before the director, probably.
And how easy is it to make a new department, given our structure?
As far as you mean, like on the accounting.
And the legal,
Illegal.
I can set it up in our accounting software, but I don't know.
from an accounting standpoint, it shouldn't be too big of a deal, but I
No,
don't know.
that's kind of the easiest part of it.
Have you found a location?
A potential one. There's a space that could work,
I was just thinking, you want it in the village probably, huh?
definitely.
There's Jenny DeLude's house, there'd be a lot of land if they want gardening and this and that, but. Pardon?
That's certainly true,
Yeah.
but that's in the town of Sheldon.
It is, yeah, it's true, yeah.
So there's definitely a place that that John and I have inquired about, but it's not like a done deal, obviously, and like there would be more considerations that need to be made before.
But it sounds like you have a lot more structure anyway from last meeting.
Yeah, I mean, this is not the community arts center. This is specifically a youth center. I've been attempting to get youth centers in Enosburg and Richford for at least 4.5 years now. I also have, depending on our space, depending on the director that is hired, some workplace learning opportunities for youth in the space. There could be like, again, some of the details would be worked out depending on like what the space has to offer. But like cooking classes would be excellent for students if you actually don't need a kitchen to do cooking classes. I've done lots of cooking classes personally with students that have a kitchen.
Those old easy bake ovens.
Yeah, there you go.
I have an air fryer.
Boy, our name again.
Oh my goodness, I bought an air fryer recently and it's just amazing. But yeah, so there's definitely, I think that's a really good question about starting a department. I didn't think about that, but like, I think it's very doable if we had the money.
Right.
And there's so much state level support on this. Like I've got several contacts across the state for people who are willing, the moment we say we want to have a meeting with you, to jump in and help us figure out.
Tell Bernie you'll take 7. It probably still isn't as much as he had to get for Notch.
I think the idea is sound and it's a lot more clear now. It sounds like there's a definitive direction of where we need to head with it, and I think let's go for it. Shoot for the moon. Maybe we'll hit it. And
So we just touch base on some of the information on the grant before you apply for it. The address and stuff we could update and a few other things from what you sent us today.
as far as
Okay.
the,
Not our mailing address, so just the.
I was just throwing things in there, so that the thing that's also really frustrating about grants, not only do you not always know if they're coming and then they give you luck, sometimes you get 6 weeks. This one was like 2.5 weeks. But they also don't actually have PDFs of the entire grant. They require you to make an account and fill in the blanks before you see the next page. So I just I typed in stuff as I did quick searches so I could see the whole application. Because I didn't want to also
You're not
commit
fixing it.
myself. No, waste my time.
oops, I hit send.
Yeah, no, it's more like I didn't want to commit to volunteering to support writing a grant or commit the village to a grant application that was gonna be like a 40-page. You need to you owe me your firstborn child kind of grant, but they wouldn't give you an app.
Right.
So I put it in a lot of,
Okay.
you probably also noticed my little silly notes as I was just trying to save stuff, but
Okay, so the board is going to give, John or Abby permission to, submit grants for, a youth center on behalf of the village. Is that how we want to structure that?
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. Motion?
do I have to recuse myself? I mean,
No,
okay,
no.
okay, awesome. Second.
Either the first, head of the second, all those in favor say aye,
Aye.
and those opposed nay. Yeah,
Worried about creating a department if we get something.
yeah, I think,
I
yeah,
don't think it'll be
Yeah, I don't think.
I don't think it'll be a big effort whatsoever. We have all the policies and everything in place, so I think it'll be fine.
Jeff Gale,
Could I ask, going on, what we're gonna be voting on at the village meeting? I don't quite understand. They wanna take the chlorine out of the water?
The fluoride,
Fluoride.
it's not that the village doesn't have a kind of position per se, we're just kind of put it before the voters because it's been so long since we've had a discussion on it.
it got expensive suddenly.
Very expensive.
And of course, the question hasn't been raised in probably decades, so do we want to continue paying for it, even though it's more expensive?
Okay, Heinsberg, I don't know how many, just a few years ago, I don't know, they either quit or they cut back on their chlorine.
That was a personnel issue. That was one individual that made a decision not authorized on behalf of
Well,
the
a
town of Heinsberg.
lot of kids, a lot of people got sick.
by
We're not
taking
coming
out
back, we're not coming back to chlorine.
Fluoride.
fluoride.
And science is on the fence as to whether or not fluoride in the water actually keeps children from having cavities or doesn't really amount to squat.
I
Okay.
do know there's probably gonna be a dentist or two at annual meeting, just a heads up for this discussion,
That's fine.
which I told them definitely.
They're like, we don't have a position, we're just
Maybe they.
literally asking everyone the question.
I reiterated to them when they called that we don't have a position, it's just doing our due diligence to put it before, our community members, if they wanna continue, great, we'll definitely continue, and if not, then we won't.
What is the annual, you may not have it in front of you, but what is the annual budget number for fluoride?
It's,
$3 grand.
yeah, it used to only be like $800, I think we budgeted 3,200, somewhere in that number.
Big difference.
Big-
It used to only be like $60 or $80 per bag, now we're pushing almost $300 for a bag.
I mean, if the proof was there, that it was absolutely and positively worth every penny that we're paying, I think that would be fine.
Right.
But if the proof isn't there, then I'm not sure we need it.
That's why we're gonna ask the
Yeah,
people.
so we'll see what they think.
Yep.
And they'll go, why are we taking chlorine out?
Yeah, we may or may not have an exciting annual meeting, who knows, but, I have a question, or actually more of an idea to bring up. We discuss, annual reports and the amount of waste that goes into making them every year. And the idea of a paperless annual report was brought up, and I think that might be something to look into for next year. That way we're not printing off
Is it legal?
250 annual reports, I don't know.
So we cut back, I only ordered 100 this year. I sent 10 to the town clerk's office and 10 to the library. I haven't been asked for more. And I've handed out probably less than 10 here.
So
No.
not many get.
You guys obviously all get a copy of it. We have to, we're by statute, have to electronically send it to a laundry list of agencies, but we waste.
I don't know how many people actually couldn't even look at those.
Yeah, I know FNESU has altered their format, it's much shorter, and they're going digital too. Right now, they're digital and in print, but I'm not sure what the end game is there, though.
They're just expensive. I mean, how much was it?
So we cut it in half and it was still, I haven't seen the actual bill, but I think the estimate was between $600 and $700.
And that's for the 20 people who actually use them. In my opinion, it could just be on the website.
And another option too, if somebody really wants to come in, I mean, we can print one and staple it for them too. Like, I don't
I say you take that 195-year-old who doesn't have a computer, but who absolutely and positively always reads that report, if you've got that, you know.
You know, when I was in Bakersfield, they printed their own in-house. They just got like a heavier, like stock paper for the cover. And we assembled and did everything in-house there. And then if we needed more, we just printed more, or we could email them, but it's
That way it's-
definitely,
Per diem.
it's, yeah, it's, and we went to an electronic, yeah.
Well, that's just because you have the new Kindle.
That's right.
Yeah, but we can have it next year. Annual reports now available on our website. Here's the link. Hard copies at the office if,
$500 a piece.
yeah, if, you know, on request, hard copies at 42
Yeah.
Village Drive or 17 or whatever it is here.
Wherever.
It's physically 16,
16,
the mailing's 42.
them across the road.
I guess I will mention this as other business too, I guess. They're just exploring, not a huge thing, but we're exploring putting a meter out here and selling water.
Go for it.
So,
Taking out the middleman on a lot of different places.
so that might be coming. We're finishing up. Gary's finishing up.
You're talking right across the road here, or right somewhere.
Yeah.
Tractor trailers and everything would probably be able to back down.
They do it for deliveries now.
Yeah, no, great idea. Another one. Another great idea.
Anybody using the charger yet?
Yes.
And I wish the hell when they use it, they would put the cord back where it
Yeah.
was.
I saw the cord.
I'm sick of fixing the cord.
Yeah.
That's what Kevin told me too. He's by the track.
It's just when they just throw it willy-nilly,
Yeah.
somebody not paying any attention at all is gonna drive right over it.
Yeah,
It
that-
looks bad.
It does, it looks terrible.
Yeah, that whole process is up and running.
Oh, to go back to the, for the, informational stuff, Abby, you also include like the appointed positions too? I feel like we've got a couple that we haven't filled for like the, going to the different boards. I think it could be helpful if we posted them before it's time to appoint people to see if anybody is interested to approach us.
Excellent point.
Probably a separate posting, it's kind of like an advertisement. Or
Yeah,
something.
positions available.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Sure, they'll be knocking down the door.
Okay, that's the
Well,
word.
we are,
Just like they are every year.
we are gonna run one more, fluoride on Facebook too. We're gonna.
Yeah.
do a little
We're-
bit
yeah, we're
about
trying to do
fluoride folks.
Due diligence to get that out there. Like that, it's gonna be posted in the messenger, well, I haven't heard back from the messenger, but the messenger and the courier. So the warning will be there, so people will be able to see that on there.
Any other business?
In the back of there.
It's something you guys need to sign, and just so you can read it.
Yeah, there's a bunch of.
We've got a bunch of sign your life away stuff.
Yeah. Bunch of stuff.
Do we want to do that before we go into executive? Yeah, let's do that. Where-
I'm gonna add that.
Well, hopefully
That's
before
fine.
That's fine, we can sign that one.
Speaking of annual report, you took all those nice pictures, but we weren't in it.
You know, I did have that thought of getting a FD one next year, I promise.
Thank you for using them.
Yes, thank you.
You want my
I
pen?
guess, I give him mine.
You write stitch below.
I could throw one at you, Eli. Yes, and I'm hoping we'll have even more pictures next
Just
year.
And less paper.
Last people. They're gonna.
Just get a photo book.
It's more fun to look at though.
Says who? Oh.
I guess I can find the line that's in the
Yes, it's the only one you got.
I want to make sure it wasn't part of mine.
No, those are already all lost.
I didn't give you a left-handed pen, did I?
You making fun of my pen now? I share my pen with you and now you're like insulting my pen.
Not him, not you.
At least yours has a clip on
I break, I
Mine
have
broke.
a bad habit of breaking.
Thank God, at least you can't click it if it broke.
it.
It's slow? No.
Let's make
Not
sure
allowed to
we
break
have-
people's knuckles. For me.
Okay, we all done signing stuff? Motion to go into executive for the purpose of discussing negotiations in which premature public knowledge may compromise the position of municipality.
Second.
Eli, the first, Sandy with the second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed nay. I should have that memorized by now.